Hello, everyone, and welcome back. It is I, Tina, your eJuices.com social media guru, and we're here with eJuices.com Live. With me, I have Brendan and Jomi from, excuse me, I just coughed. Brendan and Jomi from Solace Vapor. We have Jameson from Mad Hatter, and we have Dan from Humble. So everybody say hello to them. They're here. At the beginning of the show, we want to try something a little different, you guys. This show is labeled Why So Salty. We're talking about Nick salts today, so I figured I would show you guys a couple of funny little things that we found. So for our theme today, you know, we've got all the different Nick salt levels because I know that you guys love 10 milligram, 20 milligram, and then we're talking about 40 milligram. And then this one just because I wanted to be funny with it. A salt and battery, you know, applicable to memes. And finally, Salt Bay gracing Humble and Mad Hatter and Solace with his salt. So I could go on for days about salt puns, you guys, but instead of doing that, I'm going to go ahead and roll our intro. And we're back. As I said before, you guys, for those of you who are just logging on now, it is I, Tina, your eJuices.com social media guru, and I have with me Humble, Solace, and Mad Hatter, who are still setting up their, lots of product. So hey guys, what's up? What's going on? Thank you for joining us, and for those of you who are just coming into the chat right now, check out that table because a majority of that stuff is in our giveaway tonight. So gentlemen, hello. I said it in the beginning, but I'll say it before. We have Brendan, Jomi, Dan, and Jameson with us. Gentlemen, please tell me a little bit about each of yourselves, about the brand that you guys work with, and just kind of like how that brand got started.
Sure. So I'm Brendan. I'm from Solace Salts and Solace Technologies. We have Solace Salts, which come in 30 and 50 milligram, 15 and 50 milliliter. 15 and 30 milliliter. And Jomi's my business partner. We started nicotine salts way back in the day. It was around early June of 2016. We went into the nicotine salt world because we saw everyone using the Juul. And we didn't really understand why it was, what was important about it, what made it different. And all these people that would spend time at trade shows looking at their own brands, promoting their own brands, would be using a different product. We didn't want to know why that was, what made it different, what we could do to possibly get into that world. And thanks to Jomi's background and what Jomi was capable of is we were able to develop our own proprietary nicotine blend, resulting in even further a patenting of a blend. And basically, we specialize in nicotine salt technology. That's really what we do. Solace and Salty Man were more proof of concept. They did extremely well. They're first in the marketplace. We're the dominant and the market leader of open bottle nicotine salts, and we have some very good friends that do a very good job with their brands and in the sub-ohm market, and we help to develop them into nicotine salt technology as they understood the same thing we did, that people were moving more towards that directions, wanted more efficient, more flavorful, and more convenient options for their brands. And that's where Daniel from Humble came in with SBLT, and I Heart Salts came in with Mad Hatter. So I'll pass it on to Jameson.
Yeah, I'm Jameson. Started a company called Anywhere Premium Vapor Products in November 2011. Starting with a focus just on disposable products and directed towards the convenience store market, things like Circle K or 7-Eleven, things like that were the focus back then. And in the middle of 2015, we launched a brand called Mad Hatter Juice because we realized we didn't have anything that was focused on the vape shop, smoke shop market. And so that developed from I Love Donuts to I Love Cookies and the rest of the I Love line, and now just recently with I Heart Salts, and the focus on not for sub-ohm use, soiling, things like that, with that popularity and trends developing over the past maybe 12 months or 18 months. And we saw that there was a gap in the need for a uniquely marketed product for those consumers. So that's the nutshell.
Awesome.
My name is Daniel. I'm one of the owners of Humble Juice Company. We started in late 2015. Really started to make a presence in 2016. We started marketing more towards the consumer. We offered kind of a little more bang for your buck. We saw the salt industry becoming fairly big, and we teamed up with what I think the best people in the industry, Solace salts. And from there, that's why we're here. Right now, we've created a line, SBLT salts, and a humble time Solace collaboration. And that's where we're at.
Johnny, if I talk to nicotine technology, where was she?
Yeah, so we kind of what Brendan is alluding to is when we were abroad in a London trade show, and it was 2 months before that, we were somewhere else, and everyone's using sub-ohm products, vaping their own product, which is kind of what you expect as a brand owner at a trade show. And then fast forward 2.5 months to London, every single brand owner we know was walking around with a Juul.
Including ourselves.
To be fair. And then it kind of came the immersion of all these pod systems. So afterwards, we saw Bon Earl was marketing at that trade show in London for the first time. They were just coming to market, and we're seeing all these pod systems. But I think that the mistake a lot of people have made in the early stages was that it was just a pod clicking together is what made the Juul successful. But as we delved into kind of what their patents and their research documents were, which is public information, we found that it was nicotine salts, which is, to back up a little bit, nicotine salts are as the same blend molecularly as what's in a tobacco leaf. So nicotine in tobacco in a combustible product is a salt suspension. It's called a diprotonated alkaloid, to get technical. So essentially what Juul did is they took a freebase nicotine, which is what is in every regular sub-ohm product, and they modified the alkalinity with an addition of acid to bring the pH balance down. So what that does is it actually makes the efficacy of that product equivalent to what a combustible cigarette is. So it's comparable blood barrier penetration and titration as you would expect in a cigarette. So whereas a freebase product takes 40 to 50 seconds for that nicotine to fully titrate in your blood, a combustible cigarette takes 2 or 3 seconds, and so a salt product takes 2 or 3 seconds. And beyond that, the titration level whereas a freebase product comes up and then it goes down. So you're having to hit your vape a lot, that sort of thing. A salt suspension hits quickly, and then it has a slow taper down over about 30, 45 minutes. So that's where the instant satisfaction and kind of something, if you're in the workplace or whatever, a small device that gives you instant satisfaction genuinely with nicotine that has some staying power is why there's the proposition of value in salts is really relevant. And so we started getting into, at the time, the only product that was available was what was it? A MyJet and a iCare?
MyJet and iCare, that's right.
Yeah, and so we started making salt. Obviously, iCare is a pretty inferior product to what's out now, but not against them or anything. But we started making, open bottles, and what we did was in June is we were going, okay, let's just see no one knew what the hell we were talking about. So we were like, let's just place this in 15, 20 shops across LA and just get some metrics for a few months on what the actual sell-through on a retail level is, and if we actually have some customer attention. And the data we got was pretty mind-blowing. So then at TPE in January 2017 is where we really kind of started to put some money behind it and try and get it out in the marketplace on a scale. Like I said, we started pretty micro with just regional, local Los Angeles market to see what happened. But it's now, TPE last year was us that had nicotine salts. That was it. This year it's everybody.
40-50% of the industry.
Yeah, they're so hot right now. Everybody I know is trying to get their hands on it.
I think what's most interesting and what Jeremy had gotten his brain wrapped around is not just the technology behind nicotine salts, but what the stable molecule will do. So when you bring it down into acidity in its acid form, back down to a 5 on the pH scale, which is as it is naturally in tobacco leaf, it becomes a more stable molecule. The stability is what gives it the cleaner taste, and thus why freebase has more of a peppery harshness to it.
Yeah.
So by being a more stable molecule, it can go into higher nicotine strengths and into smaller devices. But most importantly, and mainly why we teamed up with Matt Hatter and Humble specifically, and not many other ones that were coming, asking for the same type of technology or the same type of drive into the market share, is that these people represent their brands extremely well. They have their customer base, they understand their customer base. And the one thing we believe that, Jeremy came to us about a long time ago was what's missing from traditional vaping is ritual. What's missing from traditional vaping is I go into a cigarette store and I buy Reds because I like Reds.
Yeah.
And I buy. And if Reds isn't available, it's rarely that I'm going to buy a Camel. And if you look at Humble's customer base, if you look at Matt Hatter's customer base, these are people that legitimately respond to the marketing they do to the particular. It doesn't matter if they come out with a cereal flavor or if they come out with a cream flavor, either or. Their customer base wants to try that because they understand their customer base. And with that, that's people that can reach that ritual level. And I think that's why nicotine salts is the phenomenon that it is. It's not just efficient, it's not just effective, it's not just convenient, but also it's the first time in vaping's, I would say, history that it actually has a person's more willing to stay on strawberry from Solace or grappa berry from iHeart or blue blood from some Swalt all the way through without ever trying something else.
Well, that also kind of goes into the actual biology of what's happening with nicotine salts, whereas with freebase, you're just, if you think about it from a psychological perspective, if you have a chemical that is hitting you and then going away really quickly, it's not actually satiating that crave for nicotine. You're just constantly chasing, and therefore you're not going to have any brand loyalty. You're going to just try anything under the sun, because really, even if you like how that product tastes, it's not really giving you what you want, even though you don't know that. Whereas a pack of Camels will give you what you want every single time. So nicotine salts kind of enable the consumer to identify with the brand, to connect with it, and get some flavors that they actually really respond to, and then have that deliver what they're looking for from a satisfaction standpoint every single time without fail. So it's just that there is no chase anymore. Like, you find something you identify with, you're comfortable with, the device you want to work with, your flavor palette or whatever you call it, and there is no need to run around anymore. It's like if you find what you're looking for and it gives you what you want, then there is no chase.
You're not willing to chase the formulations anymore. So that's why you'll find a customer that likes iHeart Salts, that likes Solace, that likes Salts, and likes Swalt, that might not like another of the competitors' formulations. So that is, as Joey was saying, Marlboro and Camel have different formulations that it has the nicotines delivered. Meanwhile, and so did Freebase, but at this point, they will find that formulation they like properly. And I guess we can get to one of the other questions, which is what was thought of, is which particular your brand focuses on.
Really quickly on the nicotine side of it, though. So I think comparatively speaking, with a lot of other products that are in the market, actually for the most part, all of them. Juul, for example, uses benzoic acid, which is a preservative that you find in processed foods and energy drinks and that sort of thing, which there's a lot in here, and you shouldn't be consuming, right?
Yeah. And Nic salts they're acid based, correct? You mentioned earlier that they are, is it what kinds?
Yeah, so that's what we really spent some time on. If you look at, so benzoic is, the reason that it's really useful in the Juul's application is because it's very high potency acid, but it also has a very limited flavor profile. So in terms of flavor adulteration, when you put it into a product, it doesn't affect it that much. Whereas there's like salicylic acid or lauric or something like that has a really strong taste, so it'll affect that profile. But that's really the only benefit. Aside from that, there's a lot of inherent issues with consuming a preservative you shouldn't be consuming, and you will only come in contact if you're consuming processed food. So what we did is we really delved into what sort of acids are things that are viable, have a limited flavor adulteration property, and are something that a human will come into contact every single day with foods that they eat that are not processed, like an orange or anything like that. Something that exists in all of those types of foods, and that's what we work with. And in that, we're not it's a lot safer. It's something that you consume on a daily basis, anyways. It's not a foreign contaminant that you would only consume if you're having weird shit you shouldn't eat. And it's also one huge benefit of it is it's outside the parameters of Juul's IP or patent as it pertains to filling a pod system. So there is some opportunities there in being able to deliver to a consumer something that's a better option from a biological perspective, how it's impacting your body, and C, convenient.
Okay, yeah, no, that makes total sense. I mean, and we actually have a couple of questions in the chat for you guys if you'd love to hear them, just from what you said in the intro already. And I'm just going to kind of throw them out there, and whoever wants to grab it, go ahead and grab it, because there's so many of you guys. And for all of you guys who are watching, by the way, I saw a lot of people pop into the chat. I'm here today with Brennan and Jomi from Solace, Jameson from Mad Hatter, and Dan from Humble. They're explaining everything under the sun about Nic salts, to how they're manufactured, to their branding methods, why they're relevant in the industry today. And you guys, we're doing an awesome giveaway. So initially, you know, we usually only do like one person as a winner in the giveaway, but these guys just wanted to like make it rain product on you guys. So I put the link to the giveaway. Yeah, make it rain. I put the link to the giveaway underneath the video, but there are actually going to be 3 winners in today's giveaway, you guys. So the first one is going to get the entire Solace lineup, one of the Salty Man lineups, 3 build mats, and a hat or a shirt. Winner 2 is going to get the SVLT lineup, part of the Salty Man lineup, the Boulder Rock mouth to lung device, and then winner 3 is going to receive the full lineup of I Heart Salts, which you can also see right there, and the Boulder Rock mouth to lung device. So 3 winners, you guys. We're going to be picking the winner at 7:45. Winners at 7:45. So go ahead and enter that giveaway. Now, I'm going to shoot these questions out at you guys. So, number 1 is from Chad. He said, I've noticed when I use nicotine salt, I don't know, it feels like heavy in my chest. Is there a reason for this, or maybe it's just me?
Yeah, there actually is a reason for that. So nicotine is a stimulant, so it's not actually about salts, it's about the efficacy of being able to penetrate that blood-brain barrier. So like, for example, if you smoke 3 cigarettes at once, you're going to have the same feeling. So what that has to do with, if you're bringing your nicotine, like for example, I imagine you smoke something like a 50 or a 30 and a higher wattage strain like 3s. So that has more to do with the amount of nicotine in your body and whether or not your body has a tolerance for that. So I would recommend bringing your nicotine in, is what I would say.
Okay. Oh, so there you go, Chad. It is more how your body's reacting versus the actual product. So hopefully that helps. Question number 2 comes from Stephanie, and she asked, why are salty flavors smoother? Why do they come off smoother when you vape them?
It has to do with, so when you take freebase nicotine, there's a lot of nitrosamines in it, which is byproducts of tobacco, which is what makes it have a peppery taste. Nic salt and the structure that it is, it's more stable and it pushes those things out. So what it does is it makes so that those adulterants and the flavor properties that are like peppery, those go away. So it's a much cleaner form of nicotine. It's a lot more stable. So it makes the flavors a lot more prevalent, and they don't, you know, get all harsh and weird like you would if you put 18 milligrams. Like that.
So it's a lot. It sounds like it's a lot of chemistry stuff, specific, like especially with the salts versus the juice.
Yeah, let me touch on that real quickly. So these 2 questions span this. There's in our opinion, a moral and ethical thing that needs to be done with nicotine salts. There's questions as people raise their nicotine strengths. There's questions as to the inhalation of more nicotine, and especially altered nicotine. And the first thing is knowing your tolerance, knowing what you're doing, knowing the wattage of your device, and being responsible thereof. Again, as I had said earlier about the 2 teams we worked with on that, we don't want to just throw this into the marketplace. The real childish branding cannot be, because unfortunately this is a smooth, convenient, small, discrete product that I think unfortunately is going to be in general appealing to a younger crowd. So and on the alternative to somebody that's quitting smoking, perhaps someone older. So the branding, what you put on the box, not for sub-home use, suggestions perhaps as to which types of devices this might work with. And we find that a lot of people these days are misinterpreting even what some devices are as mouth-blowing devices. For instance, the Breeze is a common choice for nicotine salts. It is a sub-ohm product. That is not what you can possibly use or should use for that. So you're going to find a heaviness in your chest. You're going to find a lightness in breathing. But again, there's a responsibility both on the company and on the consumer to understand what they're inhaling. In general, you're taking in less liquid over a day's period. So theoretically, and again, I'm not making any claims, but theoretically, you are taking less e-liquid. You can make it that as you wish. But there's also the understanding that it's more potent, it's more powerful, and it can be more dangerous if not used correctly. Thus, you need to brand this as such.
So for those that are watching right now, an appropriate device that would probably be better to use with nic salts would be like a Boulder Rock or a Juul or something along those lines.
Well, Juul, we're not going to make the claim. Juul is a closed product.
Okay.
A lot of people open it up. I try to respect people's, individual companies and technologies. Juul is perfectly fine and a closed pod, so if you want to open that up, that's your own discretion. It's not what we advise. But the Soren displays, the Soren drop, the Soren one, there's a Smoat one coming out. There's a new smoke one called a Shield of some sort. There's the MyJet is a non-sub-ohm product. Anytime, the most important thing is there's some Nautilus tanks that have 1.2 ohm coils. It's most important to understand the wattage that's being pushed through it and the resistance in that. And then from there, you choose what you like color-wise and feel-wise.
Very cool.
This year is 9 to 12 watts. That's kind of sweet spot.
Okay, 9 to 12. So for all of you guys out there watching, 9 to 12. So you guys, I kind of have a question for all of you guys collectively. Let's talk about your lines, because we've got all of your lines laid out right there. So can you guys each kind of go through the flavors that you guys have lined up and tell us a little bit about those flavors, what they are, and which one's your guys' personal favorites out of each of your lines?
Sure. So Solace was first branded to be for a general, straightforward line that was cleanly branded and well accepted by and anyone of any age. Hopefully the staple of the Nick Salt line on every shelf. We did Salty Man, on the other hand, to be a little bit more fun, a little bit more Adult Swim, and a little bit more complicated flavors, if you will. It's a salt shaker with bullet holes in them. But again, we have all the proper warnings on it. So my favorites from the Solace line are things like mango and straight mints, right? These are very straightforward flavors. Some of our best sellers are dragon fruit menthol and a strawberry hard candy, but mostly just strawberry. From the Salty Man line, the most populars are an apple juice and a blue raspberry lemonade. Again, things that are a little bit more diverse in profile and a little bit more fun. But these two lines were directed for a different audience. We certainly find that there are people that like both, some for both. But again, one's more mainly targeting a vapor audience, while the other one's targeting an ex-smoker or a tobacco store visitor. And I'll let them speak individually about their lines, but one reason why I really liked working with Matt Hatter and Humble on these things was in their understanding of their consumer base. As you can kind of tell from the branding, one is they're both very clean, they're both very age appropriate, but one's more geared towards the Salty Man side and one's more geared towards the Solace side, both in the flavor choices and the branding. So there's one on yours.
Yeah, we wanted to. It's always a challenge to try to come up with, we wanted to start with the 6 flavors, the most well-rounded assortment or offering possible. We knew we had to have a mint and tobacco, right? So we took a lot of time developing the right combination of what we wanted to try to accomplish on that side. We had juicy apples, strawberry candy, fruit cereal, and raspberry. And so we felt like after we're starting off with 28 different flavor options and narrowing down, that kind of best represented what we were trying to accomplish there. And we didn't get a lot of feedback. We just launched this 2-3 weeks ago, but getting a lot of feedback on some people who love the raspberry and stuck on it. The same thing with cereal.
Can you talk a little louder, Jameson? I can't hear you too well.
We're getting a lot of feedback from different customers. Some are stuck on specifically the raspberry, which is one of my favorites. The mint is also another one of my favorites. But we're getting a lot of feedback from other consumers on cereal being awesome to them, the juicy apples. Getting a lot of direct messages or customers on Instagram saying that they're stuck on that. Don't come in with backward strawberry as well. But my personal favorites are raspberry and mint.
Very cool.
But I think they did an outstanding job in their branding of how they played on the nutrition facts a little bit and a real clean flavor. I mean, you go into a store, you know exactly which flavor you're grabbing. And they really did a great job in both, in my opinion, making sure their customers know that this is an iHeart product, and as well as developing something a little bit new, a little bit polished, and a little bit something that can really stay on the shelf for a long period.
Yeah, you guys seem pretty big on branding.
Yeah, that's always been our thing. We just out of the gate, we wanted to develop uniquely identifiable products that kind of stood alone, stood by themselves. With the donuts box and the cookies being like yellow oven, this is a kind of a completely different take. We never had something that was brandable as a standalone brand extension before. This is a new take on stuff that we've been one SKU at a time launching products since 2015. This is it's been really exciting to come with something that was applicable to the display, and then the timing and the trends going along with Solace has been really fun launch for us.
Yeah, very popular right now currently. Everybody's asking. That's why we wanted to do this segment. Everyone's got questions about Nick Salt, so definitely a smart move and great timing on your part.
Daniel doesn't want me to push him, but I'm going to talk about his product for him. Yeah, you want to go ahead?
No.
Sure. So Daniel's line in Humble specializes, in my opinion, again, this is my take, both the consumer and someone that helped to work with that product on it with it. He's always had this extremely clean brand. He let the flavors speak for themselves. He understands his consumer base. He has a lot of online customers and a lot of wholesale customers. So in understanding that, it's what's going to stand off the shelf and what's going to look good online. So you want to pull up a bottle? You can see the cross-brand team, Humble and Solace. These are the high Nick. There's also low Nick. The idea of the brand in general was that Solace would bring the high Nick and Humble would bring low Nick. Two things they're both good at. It's a collaboration most people wouldn't have expected, I would say, in this industry. And I think what I really enjoy about these guys is so few companies get the time to talk with each other and work together and be acquaintances in a way that's not necessarily competing but assisting. But anyway, in SBLT, the flavors are playful, they're fun, but they also guarantee the staples. So there's a strawberry, there's a blue Skittle of sorts, and there's a 99 pink balloons. The flavorings are fun. It covers the spectrum as to what somebody might look at. And everything on this table, there's very few flavors that overlap with each other. We like offering different quality. And getting back to what we spoke to before, I encourage everyone to take a look across all these platforms. I find it. I know a lot of stores already. This is what their mix shelf looks like, the mixed salt shelf looks like. And I think that will continue to be more because the formulation factor is really what the customer is going to respond to. And I think everyone did a responsible job in branding, an ethical job in understanding and educating their customers. And lastly, have a little bit of a fun, colorful, playful look at something that might pop up on the show.
Yeah, kind of to touch on the formulation aspect, because there's been so many companies that are just popping up, and I think they see the trend of it, and they're going, let's just throw some mixed salts in a bottle, and that's really all it is, right? But I say this all the time, not all salts are created equal, come down to what is actually in the salt formulation to make it a salt, i.e. acids, that sort of thing, the type of freebase and the team used to begin with. The flavor ratios, how those are homogenized together and bound. This is all we do. This is not kind of a jump on a bandwagon thing. We started this category, and this is literally all we've done for almost 2 years now.
Yeah, you guys are like the godfather of salts. Godfathers.
It kind of extends when we're trying to do responsible branding. That extends into kind of like what goes in the bottle. Our whole thing, technically, this really, if you want to break down this industry, this is harmful, responsible tobacco harm reduction. And so that goes into what is actually in the product, not just willy-nilly going, oh, salts are popular, let's make some money and throw some shit in a bottle and throw it away and hope it sticks. We've seen a lot of companies pop up and throw a bunch of money at marketing, and then 2 months later they don't really exist anymore. And it's really a testament to all of these partnerships and the brands and how the maturity of how those are navigated and how they're marketed and how they cater to their customers and wholesale platform to really make sure they're taking care of it every step of the way.
Very cool. So you guys just kind of stepped on the scene. You kind of godfathered this, if you will, and you're doing it so well, very, very ethically. And I love that you guys collaborated for this. Like you said, to your point, Brendan, that you guys are existing together and you're not really competing. You're just trying to make quality products for this industry together, which I think is so cool, and I think everybody appreciates, and it really shows in your guys' product, in your branding, everything from start to finish. So I have to give you guys major kudos on that, because you don't see a lot of companies collaborating like that to make sure that they're not only giving out quality products, but they're really bringing the strengths of everyone in. Like you said, kind of you're getting Humble in on this, because you guys have that, flavor cult following, if you will. So kudos on that, you guys, because that's amazing. And it seems like everybody here has something to bring to the table. So I have to say it's very impressive. So for guys in the chat, if you have any questions, I'm going to continue kind of tossing them away. But if you guys have any questions in the chat, we have Nick Salt experts. A lot of people don't really understand Nick Salts out there. They kind of have a general idea of it, but these guys can answer all of your questions. So in the live chat, go ahead, ask as many questions as you want, and we'll get them answered in real time for you guys. So, gentlemen, you kind of mentioned that you've got like a low nic, high nic thing going on. I haven't heard, do you know if any other salt nicks are doing that? Any other brands? Because most of them that I've seen are like incredibly high nicotine levels, you know, like 30s, 40s.
Sure. So the most common form of salt nic at the moment is in the world of a 50. There's traditionally in the 50 nic, 25 to 30, depending on what the company's choices were. We did again, because we were so early to the industry and we knew that people were going to kind of be either following in our footsteps or jumping on this bandwagon, as it seems that each shop has a certain amount of shelf space, and it kept taking a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more of it. When we saw that happen, we decided to go into the world of Salty Man, and the reason for that was we wanted to be able to prove the flavors in a sub-ownable fashion as well. So we wanted to think one step ahead. That was a business decision more than particularly a technology standpoint. As it comes to low wattage nicotine salts, there's a number of brands out there that carry low nicotine salts. Again, I'm not sure what formulations they use. I don't know, whatever. Humble's SVLT and Salty Man are the only two I'm aware of that do both at the same time. The reason we did that was because we have a 60-40 blend in the low nic, a 50-50 blend in the high nic, and we wanted people to be able to blend the two flavors together to get, quote, as salty as they want to get. Because we, again, as that first question was, which was, why is the nic salt, why is this making my lungs hurt, why is whatever, we didn't necessarily want to take people away from the technology nicotine salts, but maybe they wanted to blend it to be a 20 milligram or a 10 milligram. They can choose to do that in a Chubby Gorilla bottle, whatever it may be. So our flavors, as well as Humble's flavors, are able to mix and actually formulate both for a mouth-to-lung device or a sub-ohmable thing, depending on the nicotine strain you get it down to. So yeah, that's the piece of the sub-ohm thing. The one thing that is most important is there are a number of brands out there that use nicotine salts. I think they're not understanding it fully. The reason that you're not understanding it fully is nicotine, the only benefits of nicotine salts in sub-ohm products is that it's smooth. That's it. It doesn't put the bloodstream faster. Over 35 watts, it becomes freebase nicotine. That's how the chemistry works. So as soon as it hits 35 watts and you use it on a sub-ohm tank, it becomes freebase nicotine, and it doesn't break that blood-brain barrier that Jeremy was talking about any quicker than regular nicotine would, but it does deliver a smoother flavor. Yeah, ours is rated at 38 to 39 watts, but again, most people vape over that. So it is a little bit of a gimmick, I would say, while regular nicotine salts and high nic is far from a gimmick and probably the future.
Okay. Oh, that makes perfect sense. And I think that it's cool that you guys are the only ones that produces both. You're giving people more options. They feel less closed in on it for sure. Quick question, kind of like jumping off when we were talking about like the chemistry of it and everything. Does it make it more difficult to mix flavors with the salts versus if you're doing like a liquid? Or how does that work if you're trying to like combine two different flavors? What is the difference in the overall process, I should say?
The formulation itself?
Yes, or if you're mixing flavors.
Sure. So one thing that's really interesting was we found, and we don't want to give away too many secrets, but the formula for our nicotine salts is what we do. It's what acids we use, how much of it we use, and how clean it gets. When that happens, it just becomes 5 milligrams is 5% of the base. So 5% nicotine, so it's 50% of the formula. But as for flavors itself, the only thing I could say is a lot of people think a little too far new age now. When nicotine salts is a lot more old age in thinking of flavor making. You got to think ego pens. You got to think of how flavor came through in more restricted ways, right? And the traditional way of making sub-ohm products is not what you have to do to make that formulation work. There's certain flavor bases or concentrates that are more prominent. Certain ones, flavor houses you have to use that have maybe a more of a double concentrate because you want just enough flavor and not it gunking up coils, right? And we wanted to show that through Salty Man was how far we've come in this understanding while people are releasing their product and kind of behind our steps. Salty Man, we were able to show that same flavor in a low nic, and if someone could pull that off, it was really kind of difficult to understand, Yeah. So we wanted to show that we were not only capable of making these type of formulations for low wattage, we could do the same thing for high wattage and keep people guessing.
No, definitely makes sense, and less gunk, less mess for sure.
It's also nice to have like I just started getting kind of sub-ohm again recently. 99.9% of the time I'm using a mouth-to-lung device just because that's what I've been using for 2 years now.
Yeah.
And Daniel just gave me this the other day. And
he's a good friend.
And now I'm like, it's a kind of, when I'm sitting here, it's kind of fun to be able to blow clouds with the same flavor.
Yeah, wow. So you've been on just closed system devices until like a week ago?
That's it.
Wow, okay.
Before that, I was building a Mr. RDA geek, and I was all about that. But then all of a sudden, once I found salts and a high nick and something that's convenient I can have in my pocket and not have, I'm moving about and traveling and that kind of thing. I'm not trying to have this in a TSA now.
It was June of 2016. I had this new flavor. I wanted Joe to try it. He's normally pretty open to it. He looked at me and goes, "Is it salts?" I said, "No." He goes, "Well, then screw it," and walked away. And
well, of course, the godfather of salts would say that. I mean,
no. And I was like, "Oh, okay." That was it. And we understood.
You made him an offer he had to refuse. No, that's hilarious. Wow, so 2 years just on the closed system. That's crazy. And so you're enjoying the whole tank setup then now? The whole spiel. Very cool. So you guys, and this is kind of going to be different because we've done a lot of Ask the Juice Makers and stuff where we're asking people when it comes to like e-liquid standards and stuff. But safety and sterile conditions and stuff seem to be like a really hot topic. And then especially when you're dealing with like acid and stuff like that. Can you let the viewers know a little bit about your guys' facilities and the manufacture? I mean, like just kind of the safety process in those facilities, if you have any sort of like protocol or...
Oh, we do it right here. No, I'm just kidding. So the most important thing, in our opinion, is our employees, because again, using this acid is using different acid, no matter how safe in comparison to another acid it might be. We do it. We make sure they're taken care of. They have protective gear. They have their gloves. They have their everything. We use an ISO 8 lab. I know Matt Hatter might use a higher one in manufacturing, as does Daniel. They both use ISO 9001 labs. So either way, I believe the industry standard is roughly around an ISO 7. We all are a little bit above that, but again, where we make the nicotine is an ISO 8. Where we bottle it, depending on the company, is a ISO 9001. That has been a standard that's not necessarily legally necessary, but I think the customer base through capitalism alone has shown what they require and what type of consistency and ethical responsibility they ask us for.
If anyone wants to see what our mixing facility looks like, go to our website and look at the about page and the video of it.
Oh, okay. That's cool too.
Well, and I think on yours, I'll definitely see.
What about blog post?
On a blog post, yeah.
SolaceVapor.com.
All right, you guys, Solace Vapor. And speaking of which, I'm going to take a moment to pause and show everybody your guys' Instagram pages so that if they want to follow you guys and your handles and all that good stuff, they have that information. So I'm going to pop this up on the screen, you guys.
Daniel out, he really wants to be Insta famous, so please.
All right, you guys, so first I'm going to show you guys Solace Vapor's page. So if you guys want to check them out on Instagram, you can go ahead and follow them. Let's see. So here they are right here, you guys. Solace Vapor, that's their handle. And as you can see, they're showcasing some of their salts, some of their closed systems right there. And next we're going to go on to Mad Hatter's page. So there's that handle for that, you guys. And you can see they've got their I Heart Salts line right there for you guys to see showcased. And their handle is Vape Mad Hatter. And then we're going to go ahead over to Humble Juice Co. And you guys can go ahead and take a look at Humble's stuff too. So if you guys are interested, it's Humble Juice Co., Vape Mad Hatter, and Solace Vapor. So be sure to check out those handles, you guys. Oop, I disappeared for a minute. Oop, I just messed that up too. Here we go. All right, we're back to the live chat, you guys. And speaking of live chat, we have a few more questions. So, let's see. The first question is... Oh, you mentioned this. So you guys mentioned the Breeze, and someone asked in the chat if you could reiterate. Do you recommend using Nic salts in the Breeze or no?
I don't recommend using Nic salts. Again, there's sub-ohmable Nic salts, and there's lower milligram Nic salts. Everyone has their own choice. I know it's a common choice, but that is a sub-ohm coil, so be cautious of that. every one of our boxes is not for sub-ohm use. Most of our bottles say it, so that's up to you. But the lower nicotine salts milligrams can be used.
You can use a 12 at SPLT.
That's true.
Really? That's actually the next question I was going to ask you guys. Christine, or Beauty and the Vape, who has actually hosted this a few times with me, asked, how low do the Nic salts go? What's like the lowest level? Is 12 the lowest, or does it go even lower than that?
We have a 0.
Zero. Well, okay, I guess other than 0, what would be the lowest Nic level? 3? Okay, so it's like eJuice, basically.
Yeah.
Okay, but just you guys go way higher. For sure. And then we have another question in the chat. Are nicotine salts absorbed by the body quicker? If so, why is that? And I think that kind of ties back to what you guys were saying as far as the fix that people get with the salts and like with a cigarette versus traditional e-juice.
So in a standard cigarette, the pH level of nicotine is a 5 on a pH scale. After you take a ton of tobacco, put it in a big vat of solvents, which is how freebase is made, it breaks down all of those, what's the term, Jeremy?
Carboxylic acid bonds.
Yeah, all the, right, the science is over here. All the bonds. And what it does is it comes out at an 8 on the pH scale, which is an alkaline. Because of that, it doesn't absorb into the body as fast. So when you add whatever acid back into it, preferably our acid, because it's a little bit better for it, you use that and you and bring it back down to 5. That brings it to a more stable molecule, and thus it breaks the blood-brain barrier faster and it's uptake to the system.
Wow. And so it's just so like scientific sounding. I mean, like most people don't even think of that when they're picking up juice or even like a salt. They're just not thinking of the science behind it.
It's on us to explain it. That's why it's on us to educate both from an ethical standpoint of higher milligram and also just from a usage standpoint to deliver people the best satisfaction they can have. A bunch of us use vape picks for advertising. Phil's a good friend of ours. And anyway, he had posted the other day a picture of Mad Hatter's I Heart Salts and did a great mock-up as he always did. And I encourage you to go look at vape picks. They're fantastic. But and he said, salt is the new ice. And I commented saying, salt is the new vape. And he messaged me and was like, you're actually right, man. The thing is, this isn't a gimmick. There's, ices have been down the line. Big bottles have been down the line. Cheap bottles have been down the line. Candies have been down the line. Name it. Everything, for the most part, has happened. Tobacco-free nicotine in many ways was something that people thought was going to change the industry, and it didn't. But salts really has a different level of activity. It really does have a different level of engagement with the consumer, and that's why I believe that it is something that goes back from. I think it's truly the technology that changed the industry, just like sub-ohm did. It's that drastic of a change, and I think we'll see more and more. Not just more and more companies introduce it, but also more and more vape shops expand their Nic salt selection and take over slowly part of the sub-ohm.
Well, it's also, it's not really theory at this point. There's a lot of data to support that. I mean, if you look at like Views is an RJ Reynolds product. They have the largest distribution network and leverage in the world. And they did, what, 371 million in sales last year. And Cool, which is 2 years old, because they have Nic salts, did 381 million in sales last year.
Wow.
So, I mean, if you look at it's a private company. It's not about because, they're just have the connections, because they are the largest and most effective marketing vehicle for nicotine salts right now. And it's purely just because the consumer gets what they want. That's it.
But they use benzoic acid, so read up on that yourself. You don't have to take our word for it. Look at it yourself. You can see that it's used for mummification and stuff. Probably not a good thing to use. A number of other open bottle sources use benzoic acid. I would highly encourage any person when they're buying a nicotine salt product to ask, is there benzoic acid in this?
Thank you for that. No, it's very important that people who are watching this understand. So for those of you guys who are watching, again, please heed that warning, because these are the experts. They know what they're talking about. So if you're looking into nicotine salts, definitely make sure that you check that out first. So, we have a couple more. Actually, we've got like tons of questions rolling in from the live chat right now, so I'm going to kind of just send them out at you guys.
Probably our friends, so don't answer them.
No, they're not. They're not even your friends. They're like regular people. I saw someone say that you were cute though, Brendan, earlier in the chat. but these are actually like regulars that we have on the show. But your friends did say how cute you guys were at the beginning of the show in the live chat, just so you guys know you got a shout out. So, Solace B would like to know, how does a 3 milligram salt compare to a regular 3 milligram e-liquid?
Exactly the same.
Okay. So there's like this myth that I guess that like it tastes better, and does that have anything to do with Nick levels, or is that a myth?
The more stable molecule, it's going to taste better. It's going to be less peppery. And again, that might just be the choice of the consumer. But over 35 watts, with our formulation over 38 watts, it becomes free-base nicotine. It's going to be delivered to your system the same. It's not going to be taken up into your bloodstream any faster. But
it'll taste better, though.
It does taste better. That is the only advantage.
Okay. No, that makes sense. I mean, you guys are using like acid versus like, you know, VG, PG, the juice bases and all that good stuff. I mean,
yeah, the acid is only in the formulation of nicotine itself. So when you take a pure nicotine at 1,000 milligrams per milliliter and you dilute that in PG or VG or both, depending on what the consumer wants or what the company wants, you just use some acid in that formulation. So you still, we still use PG, VG in standard flavor.
Yeah, it's still hosted. The nicotine itself, that we put in the bottle, is still hosted in PG.
Okay.
Acid and liquid nicotine into a bottle.
Could you guys reiterate for me real quick? We had someone pop into the chat a little late. His name is Marcus. He says, I heard sub-ohm vaporizers aren't preferred for nicotine salts. Which devices do you guys suggest? Can you still use sub-ohm? And I know that you guys talked about this earlier, but if you could just reiterate.
I'm actually going to pass this on to my friend.
Anything that's a mouth-to-lung device, a Soren, a Boulder Rock, anything that's, you know, the coil itself is over 1 ohm, that vapes around 9 to 11, 12 watts is preferable for a high nic product. Again, for low nic nicotine salts, you can use it in any of those you want.
And you said you wanted to add something, Jameson?
Yeah, Boulder Rock, Sorens.
Yeah.
And
not a sub-ohm product. But again, the question is, and Joey did clarify, but low nic, please treat it as regular. If it says 3 milligram, it is 3 milligram, and that's the same as a regular 3 milligram. So you can go and enjoy that in any any sub-ohmable device.
Like this. The only difference is that it would be smoother, as Brendan said earlier.
very cool. And Curtis popped in and said, hi, buds. I know you were looking for Curtis earlier, so he's in the chat saying what's up.
Curtis at eJuices.co could have offered salts a lot earlier, but, you know, they waited.
Oh, Curtis, you're getting called out in the chat.
I went in in 2016 to carry the product.
The shade. You know, this show is called Why So Salty, but we're, like, actually getting into this now. So, I see you, because, Curtis sent hearts. Your hearts aren't good enough here, Curtis, apparently.
Yeah. That E4 is fire.
So, we have another question from Beauty and the Vape in the chat for you guys. What is the lowest nic that you guys will be selling? I think you guys said 0 earlier, correct? Or 3.
Yeah, Salty Man and SBLT both offered 0. I believe Matt Hatter has sub-ohm. You have sub-ohm ones in the works as well, so that's a project they've kept open. But either way, 0, 3 milligram are going to be the lowest.
Awesome. And earlier, prior to Curtis popping in and giving you guys a little shout out with some heart faces, just waiting for my diss track, Brendan, he said. You guys mentioned the mouth to lung devices, so I'm going to take this as another opportunity to kind of tell everybody about the giveaway, because we've had some people come in a little bit late. So for those of you guys who kind of popped in a little bit later, I am here with, I'm sorry?
First winner is a date with Daniel.
Okay, well, yeah, that too. I have Brendan and Jomi from Solace, Jameson from Mad Hatter, and Daniel from Humble with me for all of you guys who popped in late. Daniel, who's going to be giving the winner one of a date, obviously. But other than that, let me tell you guys what the giveaway prizes are. So I know we normally do one giveaway winner, but today they want to make it rain on you guys with products. So we are having 3 winners this giveaway, and at about 7:45 p.m. Pacific time, I'll be picking those. So a little under an hour, you guys. Winner number 1 is going to receive the Solace lineup, a Salty Man lineup, 3 building mats, and a shirt or a hat branded. Winner number 2 is going to receive the SVLT lineup, part of the Salty Man lineup, and a Boulder Rock mouth to lung device. And winner number 3 is going to win the full lineup of I Heart Salts, which you guys can see everything on the table, and the Boulder Rock mouth to lung device that we've discussed a few times in this show already. So be sure to enter that giveaway. It's below the video, you guys, so be sure to enter that. And like I said, 7:45, I'll be drawing those 3 winners. So back to, oh, and also you guys, if you're in the chat and you just popped in, these guys are experts on Nick salts. They're giving us some very, very, very good, pertinent information. So if you have any questions, please ask them, because I don't think anybody else, they're like the, well, Jomi's the godfather of salt, but they're all kind of like the godfathers of salt. So I'm sorry, I just watched it like a week ago and now it's stuck, and you know.
Most important to the consumer base, what's most important to me is you have the home of the BOGO and affordable, well-branded stuff. You have the king of marketing, and you have the godfather of salt. So,
yes, and the eligible bachelor over to the right, apparently. So.
He has a girlfriend that's getting on the date too, right? Bachelor. ABC Family.
Yeah, another live show for another time, right, you guys? Different kind of live show. So you guys, I would love to know if you guys feel that your companies respectively are kind of prepared for the upcoming and somewhat imminent regulations that are upon our industry and continue to be put upon our industry.
Sure. So I'm going to talk about this, and then Jomi's going to go into details and both blow your mind and bore you. In understanding Nick salts and our future of that, we've done 2 things that all SBLT, I Heart Salts, and Solace have done. We have formulations of all of our products used by a flavor house called Pureland out of North Carolina. They are the cleanest flavor house. They have regulations and certifications and details to every single one of their specifications. Even from a DIY standpoint, I recommend or encourage anybody to give Pureland a look at and try their flavors. But what we did is we have formulation for all of that. The reason for that is the formulation will be cleanest and easiest to get through PMTA processes.
We also have all the full on a molecular level, everything that is contained in that already done.
Yep.
So there's no like the whole testing that needs to get on most ingredients for most flavor houses or something. I don't know, figure it out. This is already done. We have
They're extremely professional, and all of us have relationships with that flavor house. Additionally, is in thinking about nicotine salts, our thought was that acids could be an issue in the future. That could be a thing, no matter how clean the acid might be, no matter even if we don't use benzoic acid. How can we prepare best for the future? Big tobacco and tobacco companies have looked into nicotine salts. They've worked with nicotine salts in a number of different ways. They've purchased products with nicotine salts. All in all, what we did was we thought, why does acid have to be a part of it? Why does it have to be that way if it's originally in the tobacco leaf as such? So Jomi put his pinwheel hat on and went to Seattle and figured out a way to extract nicotine unadulterated from the tobacco leaf. It's the first time it ever was done. We were able to patent it. We have patent pending. On all of I Heart Salts, you'll see the patent reference and the number on it. It's an unadulterated nicotine molecule. It has a 5 on the pH scale. It's already in acidic form. It's the first full 1,000 milliliter per milligram, milligram per milliliter nicotine salt offering, and it will not use an acid base. In doing that, it has the same, most likely will have the same CAS number as standard nicotine, and will be untouchable in PMTAs and TPDs. So that's
furthermore,
the
yeah.
thought process we did. What is so unique about this is no one had thought down this track before. Jomi figured it out. We paid a fortune for a patent attorney for a freedom to operate. This is something that Daniel and Jameson both saw the future in, and are partners with us moving forward in this particular process. But we're not here for the short term. That's what our branding can show. It's what our understanding of this technology can show. Our goal is not just to get through PMTAs and stuff in the future on the shelf and delivering that same ritual-like delivery for the first time ever to the customers. We've done our homework when it comes to flavor houses. We've done our homework when it comes to cleanliness of product. We've done our homework when it comes to European regulations and what's necessary there, such as it's illegal to alter nicotine in Europe, right? So you need a clean, unadulterated product. And that's what Jomi was able to work out for all of our benefits, and hopefully to the people that are asking questions today and enjoying Nick salts as they are. We want that same thing to be in the space 5 years later. So not only is our understanding currently of a proprietary blend and how we brand things and what our understanding of it is, but we've done our homework. We will be around in the far future as well as new.
So here's the most important piece of that. In 2001, the FDA banned alkalinity modification in combustible cigarettes across all big tobacco companies. So big tobacco companies, everyone thought they were adding nicotine to cigarettes, and that was this whole PR campaign. Oh, they're making it more addictive, they're adding nicotine. They weren't. They were making it lower on the pH scale to be even more addictive, and they banned that. So what our belief, and from consultation with some of those companies, what we believe will happen eventually, it probably is not going to be in the short term, but that, given that this is now a tobacco product, if it contains tobacco-derived nicotine, that regulation will inevitably extend to vapor products. Granted, modifying the alkalinity to nicotine just to make it as effective as a cigarette is a little bit different, but they're not going to care about that. So the reason that this nicotine is so important is this is the only way, and it has never been done before. So as we're going through, we're trying to get USP certifications on and that sort of thing, and we're consulting about that. The funny thing is, we thought it'd be easy. We have to create a USP certification guideline because it's never been done before.
Wow.
The thing about that is, once that happens, and if it happens, which it will eventually, we will be able to continue providing nicotine salt products to the consumer outside of the parameters of whatever regulation they try to stop any other company that's out there making nicotine salts, including beer.
And going into detail, what Jomi's going after is explaining what we've done recently with our branding, why we work with the people we work with. Every one of these products either say Solace on them or they have a Salts Diamond on them. That Salts Diamond is securing and assuring the customer that it uses our formulation, that it uses our acid base and not benzoic acid, and that same product will eventually use a patented technology that is the cleanest, most likely to have the future and has unadulterated qualities identical to the cigarette. So when a consumer engages and sees all these new options on the table, we wanted to tell a little bit of a story and make this make a little bit more sense to people as to what exactly they're going to want, what they're going to be looking for. And when they pick up an iHeart Salts product, or they pick up an SVLC product, or pick up a Solace product, they know exactly what device to use it with. They know exactly how that nicotine is going to affect them, and exactly what the flavor, most likely the potency of it or the flavor level. And if they enjoy any of these products, all they have to do is switch among flavors. Now naturally, each one of these brands have their own specific ways in which those formulations were done, but from a nicotine standpoint, they're all the same. So again, an iHeart Salts a Mad Hatter fan is going to like a Mad Hatter product more than they're going to like a Solace one and a Humble one. These were all geared to the individual fan bases or the customer base they were looking for. But from the nicotine standpoint itself, the customer can be assured the quality and the superiority will be there each time they see a Salts Diamond or the Solace logo.
That's so neat that you guys literally made it to where it's like, even if they're the industry, it has, brings the clamps down, if you will, that you guys were sort of the pioneers of this, so you were able to make your own rules in a sense of, that's just so cool. And I think that that's great that you guys collaborated in a way that it's like, it benefits everyone in this scenario. So, but what you guys are mentioning, kind of the benefits of salts as far as taste and as far as the nic level and as far as giving you what you really want, maybe for somebody who's looking to make this switch. Would you recommend that somebody who's switching over to vaping starts with nic salts then, because it's going to give them more of that fix, or?
Absolutely, without a doubt. And again, that's where Solace and iHeart Salts really comes in. The mint and the tobacco specifically in those ways are something that can transition someone directly from. Undoubtedly, they can have a small device. They can do it in the same sessions. They can walk outside, take their 10 deep puffs a day, and get that same satisfaction. Without a doubt, it will be easier to quit smoking and stay quit with nicotine salts.
Well, again, how many times have you seen, and I know for myself, and at least everybody that I know who smokes cigarettes and then started using a vape product, there was a huge amount of time that I would use a vape and smoke cigarettes, because the vape, it takes some getting used to for the nicotine delivery until you totally come off. But there is usually a time frame where you're transitioning. And that's because the nicotine delivery in a cigarette and a normal sub-ohm freebase product is different. You have to get used to it. With this, it's exactly the same. So if someone wants to come in, pick something up, and immediately just not want cigarettes anymore, this is the only option.
Interesting.
I think it has a lot to do with the ease of use of all these smaller products too. I've helped convert a lot of my family members and friends and older aunts and uncles and things like that from smoking to vaping, or I've tried over the past 3 or 4 years, and over the last 6 months, I've seen more and more of them convert, only because they don't want to have to worry about a coil, or have to learn something new, or have a battery charger that's charging some battery, or this or that. It's a lot easier to use these smaller devices, I think. Not only are they more satisfying with salts, but they're just easier to use in general. You fill up the pod and you plug it in and you go.
And I think that that's something that is kind of like a trend that I've seen going on, at least, where it started out, you know, with the egos and all that stuff, and then everybody got fancy with it, right? Like everybody got the RDAs and these crazy tanks and stuff, and I feel like there's kind of a return to simplicity now, if not for some of the older folks or people who don't have the time to do that. They're kind of getting these closed systems, stuff that's easy. Do you think that that kind of translates into the popularity of Nic salts as well? This kind of like return to simplicity, like let's get back to the basics.
I think what's most important to remember and understand is the average vapor 4 or 5 years ago was 18 to 23, let's just say, right? And that same person today is 24 to 30 with a job.
Yep.
And they don't. Let's hope at least. And they don't want a bottle with, you know, boobs and melons and guns and ammo on the table with a gold RDA and stuff. Like no their account manager's not gonna come around and go, bro, sit and vape, you know? Love was set up by their CEO. It's not gonna happen, right?
Yeah.
So there's a discretion that comes in. There's a convenience factor. I think any new technology as well as any new industry, it finds its niche, you go crazy in the weird direction and then come back to simplicity. Especially when there's a technology jump. And that technology jump has been nicotine salts. And one thing I want to say about what James said, he's absolutely right, is the simplicity of these pod systems makes this mean everything to people. And it makes at the end of the day, you walk out with a Soren in your pocket, or with a MyGen in your pocket, or the infinite many other things that are going around, and you get that same hit. Instead of having this big clumpy thing that you can't even go like Daniel's vaping right now. Stay humble. But even so, then the question would be, then why wouldn't I go to a clean pod system where I can pop a pod in and dispose of it? And that simply comes to, in my opinion, again, will lend itself to the benzoic acid, which is one thing, and the second piece, which is how complicated do you want the flavor? I think a lot of vapors, a lot of smokers, they want a little bit of a wheelhouse to work in, and I think a lot of people get stuck on the Jewel Mint just because it's the best of the 4 crappy flavors.
Yeah.
So and again, they develop, you know, they came out with
you're not wrong.
Yeah, I have no criticisms as for that, but you found a lot of pod systems, and I won't go into names. Again, we try to be friendly to the industry, but a lot of them leak, and a lot of the flavor profiles stay muted, and a lot of the nicotine delivery systems aren't fully with it. A lot of them use benzoic acid. And lastly, the trend that I find with pod systems is one thing Juul has going for it is because they're 2/3 acid, it's a heavy amount of acid, is that it takes longer to go through a pod than a standard pod does. So a pod can last you a day or 3/4 of a day. But these new pod systems that have come out, I challenge anybody to make a pod last a day. You burn through it so much faster because Juul did it so right in so many ways. And because they did the science behind it, they did the field test studies, they did the blind test studies, they did all of the stuff you can, and again, as Joey said, that's public knowledge. But the pod systems today, they thought in the vape way. I want to get flavor better. I want to have more cloud production. This is what flavor companies or people would like. And I find myself in trying any of these systems that I'm through a pod in 2 hours. And now I paid $4 for that pod. In California, I paid $8 for that pod, you know? Yeah, and I'm pissed, and I'm pissed. So that's why I continue to use salt products with my choice of device, open system.
Make no mistake, I mean, this huge influx of these types of devices are not as a result of people just being like, oh, let's make this price. It's because all of a sudden they need a product for salts, and they're trying to be the standardized one, and no one's done it yet.
I think there's still a gap out there in an excellent mouth to lung device, and I think that will continue to advance and continue to come. I think there's better than other ones, but again, you see one come out that's good. I mean, Soren made their first product at Foxconn. Their next product has been subpar ever since, but they still dominate the market because it's the sleekest. It happens to be the best choice, but there's a lot of room for better to be made out there, and I think it will. I think it will come.
The holy grail, the excellent mouth to lung device, right?
I'll be searching my life.
So you guys, I love to ask everybody this question because there's always different answers to it. This question's for all of you guys, but just for like our viewers and stuff, we like to get to know everybody a little bit better and how did each of you guys get into vaping? That's my question. I mean, because you guys are so knowledgeable, but how did you start? Like how and I guess when did you start? Not really per se your companies, but like your personal journeys and like how did you come upon that?
I came upon it by I got into the industry before I used it, to be honest with you. I tried it out a long time ago. Back at the vapor store, the vapor spot, is it? The vapor spot, one of the early stores where they used to have all the flavors on tables, and it was cool. It was more of a gimmicky thing. But honestly, when I got into the industry, I really dove into it. I thought it was a neat little niche. I thought they were unique people and a lot of entrepreneurs fighting for something in many ways together and at the same time competing. But that's why I'm so proud of the people we stand with today is I find there's not been a lot of good collaborations. There seems to be egos in the way or resentment or greed, and the people at the table here really have done an excellent job working together and learning from each other. So all those things is what really brought me into this industry, and I learned about kind of how to make something, and then you learn how to make it better, and you make it better, and you make it better. And from a business thing, and then standpoint, and then also from you get these little stories in. Oh, I quit smoking with your product. Oh, I can't get off your product. I love your product. Can I get a discount code? Whatever it may be. No, I don't want to sponsor your vape team. But in general, I find these stories so unique and so inspiring, and that's kind of what has kept me in it. And I'll pass it to Jameson.
Trick team over here.
Yeah.
I started. I'm sponsored though. My first exposure into the vape world or industry was when my mom smoked my whole life, and so about 2011, sometime in there, I started buying disposable electronic cigarettes for her at convenience stores whenever I was at a gas station or something. And every time I saw her every week or so, I'd give her 3 or 4 of these things to try to see if they would help. And eventually, she got a new Prius, and she didn't want to smell it up with this cigarette. So she's like, "I'm gonna try to smoke these things Jameson's been giving me in my new car, so I keep the new car smoke." So a couple weeks later, she's like, "I've done it. I've actually not smoked in this car for an hour a day or whatever." And that was a big feat since I was 0. She was smoking. So then she went on a trip. And they had to layover somewhere, and for the first time in her life, she didn't have to check out of the airport and come back through TSA. And she's like, "This is amazing! Like, I'm actually getting something from this thing." And so, light bulb went off in my head. And I started doing a bunch of research about what brands are currently out there and what they were offering and how they looked and how that was packaged. And so, and that weekend, I decided I was going to launch a brand. I didn't know how I was going to do it or anything about profit margins or warehouses or anything, but I was like, okay, let's figure this out. So that's kind of my entrance into getting started.
And speaking of warehouses, we're in the Mad Hat. You guys are in the Mad Hatter warehouse, correct?
Yep.
Very cool. So for all of you guys watching out there, he started on his journey, and look at where they are now. That's a pretty big. It looks like it's a pretty big warehouse too. So decent size. What about you, Jomi?
I live here.
He's on the 3rd pallet rack.
Yeah, I got a little setup with the pallet up there. I take a forklift every night. My dog Wallace is back there. I started. I was actually in Orange County. Sorry, buddy. This is way back. The only vape shop then was E-Cig City at Laguna. And I started on a lava tube and Cardos. This is back when Pink Spot was the only juice. And then I was around, I had some friends down there that started some companies that are massive now. They're industry leaders. And some of the biggest. And
you can name drop if you want, by the way. That's totally cool.
Name drop who the people were all about. Oh no, but tell them how you met eJuices.com.
Oh yeah. So that one, and then actually I had an idea. So all my friends are starting these juice companies, and I thought this was in 2013, and I thought I'm gonna source a glass blower to make these glass blowing tips. And so I went to Vapor Loft.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, and I talked to Paul.
Yeah.
He was just starting the distribution company, getting clearizers in from China. He's like, this is the future. And I asked him just, what do you think about the market, if this would be thing? He's like, it's a higher price point, it's not worth it. And I was like, oh, okay. And then I moved to LA. I started working for another brand in Camarillo. We had a good run over there, and learned a lot about the actual working in the industry. And then we broke off 2.5 years ago, and started doing this whole thing. 2 years ago. And yeah, I guess that's it.
I don't know if anyone else fell asleep, but go on, Daniel.
No. Hey, we're all fans of Paul over here, as you know, so.
That's what happened. Okay,
Paul
so
has been wonderful to us, and Jomi, you remember Jomi from those years ago?
yeah, no, the funny thing was, so then I worked for this other brand, and we're at a trade show in Arizona.
Yeah.
And then one of the guys who was been working at this company for a while, like, Paul comes up, and I didn't, I just started, it's like our first trade show, I did it for like a month. And I'm talking to Paul, and then someone comes up and goes, he's a huge deal, like, oh, like this kind of thing. And I was like, I know this guy. You remember the conversation, but I was like, it was funny. It was funny. It was like, he's huge,
That's funny. Yeah, like you're like, oh, they're like, oh, this is like a vape celebrity, and you're like, I already. That's funny.
Dude. And then Curtis is working there while he was in college. He was just a young boy.
He's still a young buck.
Yeah, he was really good.
I will have to say, honestly, extreme gentlemen and good people over there and wonderful ladies. But go on, Dan.
I got into the industry. My friend Grant, he owns Nicotine River, one of my best friends for a long time, and I watched him start his company. And he would start to mix things and do this. One day I went over to his house, and I was really intrigued by the whole process of it. And I asked him, what is that? I started doing a bunch of research, and then came to him and was like, what do you think about me starting a brand? And he said, I absolutely think it's a great idea. From there, I started the Humble brand late 2015, and the rest is kind of history. Just I was super intrigued by the way he was doing everything, and like I said, I did my research and saw it was a good opportunity to jump in and develop some cool flavors, and kind of created a juice line just for the people, more bang for your buck. And we're here now, and now we're teamed up with the Solace guys. I respect them a lot and what they've done in the industry, and it's a big play on my part to team up with the best people. And it's very, very important to, in this whole industry, there's a lot that people don't know, and these guys are very knowledgeable. So teaming up with them is probably the best experience and the best way to go about it.
Yeah, it sounds like you guys all have, your strengths that you bring to the table, and it seems like a great mixture. So thank you guys for sharing your vape stories with us, because it's always different, and people in the chat have their own stories, like people here at eJuices.com have their own stories, but it's always interesting.
Everyone pay attention to how good a picture that is from Phil on Vape Picks.
That's a good picture.
James, do you see this one yet? It's freaking amazing. Follow this guy. It's incredible.
What's his name? Where's his tag? Bring it up.
Vape Picks. V8. Oh, yeah. All right. I'll get it going.
Yeah, get the
Vape Picks.
Vape Picks. I'll pull it up on a big screen, too. Give me 2 seconds. Vape Picks. All right, here we go. Oh, wait, is that it? Vape Picks, P-I-X?
V-A-P-P-I-X.
V-A-P-E.
Oh, P-P. 2 P's. V-A-P-P-I-X.
P-P-I-X. There we go. Here it is, Phil. I'm going to pull it up for you guys in the bigger screen so you can see what they're talking about. Here's Vape Picks, you guys. Oh, nice. You guys got I Heart Salts, SVLT on here. So you guys, there's another one. If you want to follow Phil, there's his handle, Vape Picks. So I'm going to close that. All right, you guys, we have some random, not super Nick Salt related questions, but Jameson M wants to ask Jameson here, what his favorite hat type is.
What?
Because the Mad Hatter.
Oh, that's fine.
Oh,
That's fine.
yeah.
That's a good question.
The hat in the logo is actually what hat I was wearing that day. It's kind of funny because we knew we wanted to launch a brand and it was going to be called I Love Donuts, but I couldn't call the whole brand I Love Donuts because that's not very versatile, right? So I was wearing a funny hat that day. I wear hats like a lot, and our creative director was just I was just venting. So we're throwing all these ideas on a whiteboard, and I just said it doesn't really matter what we call a brand as long as we do our job and market it properly. It'll become like just a known thing. There's all kinds of what does Pepsi mean or whatever. So I literally threw my hat down on the conference table and just said, sketch this and let's call it like Mad Hatter or something like that. And they're like, yeah, that's it. So it was just literally just happened like that. And that hat in our logo is actually just a quick sketch of
with the little matchstick, by the way. He told me that starts really cool.
Yeah, I love it. It's like an outlaw hat. Very cool. And Jameson in the chat also asked, what's with the red cups?
Oh, it's actually just water.
Oh, sorry to disappoint you, Jameson, in the chat, but it's just water. So, I'm going to take this opportunity, you guys, to just kind of re-announce the giveaway because I saw some other people popped in. So, for all of you guys who popped in a little bit late, I'm Tina with eJuices.com, and I have up above Brendan and Jomi from Solace Vapor, Jameson from Mad Hatter, and Daniel from Humble. So if you guys have any questions regarding Nick Salts or any branding questions, any manufacturing questions, or if you guys just want to know a little bit more about them, feel free to ask in the chat because these guys are experts and Nick Salts are not really well understood in the industry, so they're answering all of our questions and they're extremely knowledgeable. So, and for those of you guys who haven't already heard about it, and if you haven't already entered, we are hosting a giveaway, and I know that we normally have like one winner at the end of the show, but the guys above wanted to make it rain products and they said let's have tons of winners, let's have tons of products. So we're doing 3 winners, you guys, and I'm going to be picking them at 7:45, so a little bit under a half hour from now before we wrap up our show. Winner number 1 is going to receive the Solace lineup, one of the Salty Man lineups, 3 building mats, and a hat or a shirt, depending on what you guys want. Winner number 2 is going to get the entire SVLT lineup, part of the Salty Man lineup, and the Boulder Rock, which is a mouth-to-lung device. And winner number 3 is going to get the entire full lineup of the I Heart Salts over there that you guys can see also on the table, and the Boulder Rock mouth-to-lung device as well. So I'll be announcing those 3 winners at 7:45. If you haven't already entered, go ahead and click the link below the video and do so. And please keep those awesome questions coming, you guys. So, will any of your guys' companies be at Foxwoods? Patrick would like to know.
Yes. I think all of us.
All of you guys. Okay, so if any of you guys out there, I've seen Foxwoods pop up a few times in this chat, so if any of you guys are interested in meeting the godfathers and marketing experts and Bachelor and Brendan, Dr. Marcus Brendan, you're like the book of knowledge, I guess, here. If any of you guys are interested in meeting these 4 lovely gentlemen, they will be at Foxwoods. So any of you guys have more questions, keep them coming in the chat. So
really cool insider fun fact about the industry, just to add.
No, go ahead, throw it in.
So I actually have a friend, and we started a eJuice company at the same time. His name is John. He owns Tin and Brew, and for a lot of you people out there that like cats, he actually he owns 24 cats. So
feline friendly eJuice, maybe.
Yeah. No, but really,
not in the lab when the juice is being made.
Yeah. But
high quality juice, cat friendly.
Yeah. So any cat lovers out there, I highly suggest you check out Tin and Brew. And if you email him at info@tinandbrew.com, he actually has a blog of all of his cats, and he'll share it with you because he does love cats.
He was thinking about introducing a cornilla flavor.
Oh my god.
So if anyone would really want to give that a try, please send him an email.
I know it sounds funny, but he does have like a big cat blog, and he side texted me and asked me to tell everyone about it. So,
no, I'm sure that there are cat lovers in here, you guys. Check out, what was his name again?
His name is John.
At Tin and Brew.
At Tin and Brew, so www.tinandbrew.com. And please email him, and He's texting me right now. Like,
I gotta check that. I gotta see his cats. I have to know now.
He has 22. I think
Males, 2 females.
I don't know, but he's looking for more cats.
22.
He has 24 cats. 24.
He adopts them.
24. He has a cat for every year I've been alive. What? Okay.
They're all indoor cats.
And he has a blog for it. That's cool though. I mean, I'm like deathly allergic, so I can't, enjoy that, but I'm sure other people here would. So
People like cats. It's the most popular indoor animal. Where's a gold dog? Yeah.
Besides goldfish, I would think, but
Actually, it's a good point.
He's a great guy, great company, and he really loves to talk about cats, so please direct message him.
Info at tinted.com.
That's funny. Oh, they linked. Oh, I'm linking to Tinted Brew, you guys, in the chat. I just linked it. We've been linking, but if you guys want to go check out, we have Tinted Brew actually as a something that you can get on our site. We went ahead and linked to that collection. So, you guys, if you guys have any more fun facts or anything you want to throw my way, feel free. Like I said, it's totally chill. But you pulling it up? Okay.
He just texted me a picture of that one. That's his favorite. That's Callie the cat.
John at Tingerbrew just loves these cats. He texts about them all the time.
This is hilarious because I was going to ask you guys if you wanted to shout out any other people, but you're already doing my job for me, so.
Absolutely. So.
Is it Cali like Cali Vapors? Like KHALI?
No, John only thinks unique about stuff. Everything he does has never had any infringement whatsoever. So it's Cali with a K and 2 L's.
Oh, okay. Very cool. But yeah, if you guys want to show us any more, if you guys have a link, or if you guys know a link to that cat blog, we have people in the chat actually asking for it. So
you have to you can send a message to Tinted Brew. So you just have to go on the website, email them, and stuff like that. But
yeah, John gave Jameson this cup.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah, it says I was normal 3 cats ago. It says you've used it, right? Or is it new? This is new. He got it for So
very cool.
Again.
Yeah, good guy.
Check out Tinted Brew, you guys. So we have another question in the chat for you guys from Texas Vapor Babe, and you already answered this, but if you could reiterate just one more time. Why is Nic Salt not suggested for sub-ohm devices or tanks?
Nic Salt is not categorized one way or the other. It's high nicotine Nic Salt. Just like you want to use most likely a 40 milligram regular nicotine in a sub-ohm product, the same thing is going to happen with nicotine salts. So if it's below your preferred way, what's considered sub-ohmable, which is 18 and below, you can use it in a sub-ohm product. If it's above 18, Nic Salt or otherwise, don't use it in a sub-ohm product.
Got it. And to answer your question in the chat, Carl, no, your cat can't vape. But I'm sure that, someday maybe there'll be a cat vape out there.
Yeah, I'll show you one more that John sent me. It's kind of funny. Obviously, the cat wasn't vaping. The cat wasn't vaping, but it kind of looked like it. It was pretty funny.
Oh my God, Carl! Never mind. Your dreams might come true right now.
There you go. It's hitting on a disposable right there.
Oh my God!
Yeah. Now, as you can see, the disposable is backwards, so it's not actually vaping. Take care around your products and around your cats, but of course.
That's so funny.
That's John's.
That's so funny. That's so funny. I love that. I'm gonna go have to look up this guy's blog after we finish this live show. You realize that, right? Like I would do it now, but we're in too deep, so later. We have another question from Patrick. Do any of you guys have a tea flavored salt? He loves tea flavors.
We do not. We have worked on a green tea ice cream flavor for another company. So keep your eyes out for that. There are many companies that will come and want particular formulas or flavors. We can do all those, may be possible. But there are more to come for sure. But no, at the moment, I don't think any of us have a tea or tea related thing.
Not even Mad Hatter? That's like their thing. The tea, right? The tea party? Or is it just Mad Hatter because you had... I'm calling you out. I was going to call Dan out, but now it's you. You're in the hot seat.
So... You want to talk to you about his cars?
I mean, I'm sure that everybody would love to hear it because everybody who, at least the people that I've met who are into vaping really love their cars, and we got a Subaru fan in the room next door to me right now. So, what? I couldn't even hear that. You got project, man.
Joey said he enjoys a pogo stick, but anyway, no, go on. Seriously, tell me the card. Freaking awesome.
Oh, just I have a 1991. I don't want to talk about that.
Really cool cars.
You said 1991, and it sounded like that was the joke, but okay. I would love to ask you guys, and this is going to be kind of like, I'm sure that you've gotten so many different questions that this is probably going to be really easy for you to answer. But what do you believe is the biggest challenge in the nic salt manufacturing industry?
Interesting. I would say personally the biggest challenge is keeping up with demand. That's a very good point. I've actually come to Jameson's office on a number of occasions, almost breaking down, and went to him because I know Mad Hatter's been such a big brand for so long. Spoken to Humble on a number of cases about it. We're going through those growing pains, and these two gentlemen before us have done these things and have experienced this craze. And how do you grow at that rate and provide the best quality product, the approved product every single time that's identical and exactly what the customer wants? So that's the biggest issue with nicotine salts. As for making nicotine salts in general, it's understanding the acid base. It's being ethical and responsible with that, and it's taking precaution and understanding because really it used to be you put juice in a pod or in a device and it worked, and then at a certain point they gave you a new device which was more powerful and they said now this juice goes in it, and really it's the first time the customer truly has to for their own good be educated on it. So I would say the heaviest lifting is teaching the customer as well as fighting off companies that are coming out after regulations have been put down and lying about 88 products. Yeah. Everyone we work with had pre-registered products, and now we find people throwing stuff out there that they're just trying to compete in pricing and go down and throw stuff into the market that wasn't actually available and is technically illegal to be on the market.
Correct.
Do you guys have anything to add, or does that pretty much cover that as far as challenges?
Yeah, keeping up with demand is always a challenge. It's hard to forecast the different things because different markets throughout the world as a brand, different markets are growing and at different stages of development. And so you might just get a flood of this or a flood of that, or interest from the specific market. And then just constantly keeping your eye on the ball and keeping up with demand. But other than that,
that's just an interesting toss-up that you guys are kind of like trying to keep with demand, but at the same time you're also trying to like educate people about it. Yeah. Like it's all kind of, it's all kind of coming out, and it's like it's also because you guys are so established in that. I feel, do you feel like it's kind of like your job to tell people what's going on and to kind of educate people about nic salts because you guys are kind of like industry leaders in that, or?
I think this is such a growing category, and it's not just our job from a business standpoint. The more education that's out there, the more why someone's going to want to choose your product, let alone a nicotine salt product. But also, it's our job on a ethical standpoint too, to make them understand that to understand what they're consuming and in the beginning, people were making stuff in bathtubs. That's how it was 3-4 years ago. Yeah. The customer is educated. They become more educated, and they demand certain things, from shrink wraps to childproof caps to, shockingly, I don't think a lot of consumers understand how little is actually legally required. But what they have demanded, what they have asked of us, we've responded with in kind. And there's certain juice makers that have succeeded. There's certain ones that take the new technology or the newest thing and make something big with it. But in general, there's really no shortcuts to success. And that everybody here understands that. And Joe and I have been in the industry for quite some time, but not at the level that Jameson or Daniel had been. So thanks to them, and thanks and also to us being able to and being willing to listen, we've been able to all kind of grow and, as you said, kind of throw our strong suits in a pile and blend them into something good.
Yeah, a challenge that I see a lot of people facing as well is the formulation behind the whole salt nicotine. Not the formulation of the salts itself, but creating their flavor to work with nicotine salts. There's different blends, so you can't just take your normal flavor that you have and throw nicotine salts in it and expect it to work and do the right way.
Yeah.
That's the reason why we team. So they have all their research and their technology and their formulations behind it. That's why they're able to make such a great product. And the big reason why we teamed up with them is I didn't have that knowledge. So coming to them and they helped me formulate it the way it's supposed to be vaped and safe for the consumers and everything like that, it was a big deal for us. The diamond behind, the diamond behind Salts is a trusted diamond. So if you guys could look for that on any of your products, that's a trusted diamond for nicotine salts. It's something very important if you guys are looking to get into nicotine salts. Try and look for that because these guys have all the technology and research and development behind it, and it goes a long way. And that's kind of a challenge that I saw at first, and I know that there's a lot of companies out there just trying to throw nicotine salts into their regular juice.
Yeah.
And you're getting bad product, you're getting stuff that's really harsh, you're getting things like that, but the way that these guys develop the product is excellent.
Thank you guys so much for these insightful answers. Everybody in the chat really appreciates them. They're all saying how much they're learning from this right now. So thank you guys for kind of shedding some light on that. We got some more questions. So the first one is, do you guys use, how many of them, do any of you guys not have sweeteners the way that it's written? Do you guys not use sweeteners in any of your salts?
So every one of ours is developed best for the flavor profile that's presented. So as Solace and I would say iHearts are a little bit more complicated in trying to deliver that exact flavor that's written on that because we got to be a little bit more playful with Salty Man and with SBLT because no one knows what 99 Pink Balloons is or what Blue's Lemonade is, right? So we can interpret that to a certain level. But from a mango to a grape apple strawberry, a grapeberry or strawberry, this is things that people understand and they want that flavor when they read it. So it has to be pretty spot on. So flavor, some of these, yes, do some sweeteners. I personally, as a juice maker, am not a fan of Capella Super Sweet. I think that's overused. It has a specific taste to it, and you have less viability in going up or going down in what you can make. I know that that's not necessarily so much the case in sub-ohm juice, but in non-sub-ohm juice, I find, and this is a personal level, because there's plenty of juices I like out there in sub-ohm that do have super sweet. But from a non-sub-ohm, it's not something I would encourage. And then there's a few ones, I know one in particular, Matt Hatter doesn't use sweetener, it might even be two, right? Either or, there's something for everybody. If you can try it, see which one you like, and I think if sweetener's not something you're looking for, or if it is something you're looking for, on the other hand, you're gonna know what that product is right away and which one you're gonna gravitate towards.
Awesome, thank you. So Chad, there you go, there you have it. I hope that answered your question. And Patrick has another question for you guys. Question for the panel. I started vaping in 2011 with blue cigs. My dad actually started on blues. And I remember their nic levels seem consistently inconsistent. How are you able to improve nic level consistencies in pod systems?
Sure. So first is that we don't have pod systems. So we work in open pod systems, if you will, or open mouth to lung devices. I agree with them. I think that is a big challenge when it comes to pod systems. You're talking about batching large quantities of product, making sure that the viscosity of VG stays on the top just as much as it does on the bottom. I think most people don't account for, in the manufacturing or filling process, how much VG can pull down an e-liquid, and it begins to separate after some time. One thing I could say from our products alone is it's very common in this industry to batch into nicks in large 55-gallon or 30-gallon buckets, though it takes more time and it takes a little bit more energy, certainly more manpower and labor costs. But we do things in 5-gallon buckets. The reason for that is the consistency, the guarantee is much more likely to be there and to be delivered on a regular level. We're not above the industry. Things happen from time to time. Nicotine is the one thing that we are not. Flavors from time to time. I've gotten, I'll just be honest, I've gotten 3 or 4 different times. It turns out it was all from one batch, but where our Dragonthol was a little light, or these things happen. But one thing we're never willing to sacrifice, we're never willing to do, is deliver somebody more nicotine than they were looking for. That's done in a separate way, in a separate process, and it's an exact level every single time. And our 99.9% guarantee is that the flavoring will be the same as exact, but there's a more of a ethical standpoint and guarantee we need on it. So hopefully that answers the question.
Also, to touch on Juul, or not Juul, sorry, Blue. I I would wager that the inconsistency in the nicotine levels would be largely due to the fact that those are produced and filled in China, which is very difficult to oversee. Everything we do is manufactured here in Los Angeles and bottled here in Los Angeles, and we look over everything.
Very cool. Thank you, guys. And Patrick, I hope that that answered your question. He said that he thought that it was a good answer. He picked up a blue to see if it vapes similar to a pod system. They still seem off. So, yeah, I'm going to go with China versus LA on that one. We have a question from Texas Vapor Babe for you guys. What about salt nicotine shots? Are they real?
Okay, so this is a very good question, actually. A number of people have come to us for salt nicotine shots, obviously, because we're not just the market leaders who understand the technology, which is what we've shown. Nicotine salts are absolutely real. There's a number of companies introducing them, having them had on market, reintroducing them, however you want to say. They're depending on what the company is going to want, they can deliver a number of issues. One is that in order to have a nicotine shot, it has to be such a potent level of nicotine salts that in order to be added to a concentrate or to a 0 milligram, that nicotine is within reason lethal in the current bottle it's in before it's added, right? So that's a concern and a shipping concern. It adds cost, it adds branding, it adds the different
legalities.
When you ship these things, unless it's branded correctly. There's other companies that look to do it on a 20 milligram level in Europe, things like that, which are perfectly fine. And that 20 milligram, again, is just as much of an issue as a regular 20 milligram. So that's much more legally and ethically of a standard, and that's probably the responsible way to do it. And then the last way is lower nicotine shots, like you'll find in Pennsylvania and Chicago, where there's large taxes on these different milligram strains or brands. Nicotine salts obviously is the most potent, the most effective, the most efficient. So I think you're going to see more and more nicotine salts hit the market in one of those three scenarios, which is the 20 milligram, the overly potent one, and the one that's blended correctly. It might not get you to a mouth to lung level, but will still deliver the nicotine salts that is more effective than standard.
And for those of the viewers who aren't familiar with what a salt nicotine shot actually is, could you just do a quick summary of what the premise of that product is?
The premise of nicotine shots is to be able to change a 0 or a short fill, which is very common in Europe, which is 120 or 100 mil with 10 to 20 less milliliters in it. The reason for that is traditionally to get around tax purposes. Those have been open in many ways. I know Italy had a hard time with it and began to shut it down. We'll see the ebbs and flows of people not wanting to pay taxes and people thinking they're overtaxed, and that's just kind of how it happens.
Yeah.
When nicotine salts come into popularity, shots come into popularity, what it is it can be done in many forms. It can be done in one of those rip and drip type styles. It can be done in a 10 ml bottle. It can be done in a 15 ml bottle. Mostly what it is it's a concentrated level of nicotine that can be added to a 0 milligram, whether that be a more concentrated 0 milligram or a standard 0 milligram, and you make that into a nicotine spiked product. You're a little bit, Matt Hatter's a little bit more familiar with the European market and the Chicago market in general, where they have a large presence. So if you want to talk to shots at all.
Interesting.
A guy named John Coakley on our team manages the Chicago market. He actually lives there and has been there for some time. So he's super expert, but I know in Cook County specifically, there's a lot of business being done with 0 nicotine product and small, super concentrated mix shots because there's a tax on the per milliliter as well as per milligram, and so there's just some funny ways. A lot of shops that were hurt when they had that tax change. So some people moved a few miles out of the county and kind of figured that out, but the guys that stuck there, they're pretty much their only option. Is these high concentrated mix shots. So I think there's only one on the market right now, right?
There is one on the market. I can say that a very good friend of mine is about to introduce another one. So stay tuned.
All right. Very cool. So you guys, I'm going to just kind of do one more mention of the giveaway before we do it. And then we're going to do maybe 1 or 2 more questions. And then we're going to select the winners. So for all of you guys who are watching, be sure to enter that giveaway now. In the next 5 minutes or so, I'm going to be selecting 3 winners. You guys know what the prizes are. So be sure to enter that giveaway if you haven't already done so, because at around 7:42ish, I'm going to pull those winners. And another thing to note is we're only selecting people who are winners who are in the chat right now interacting. So if you entered and then you left and then you come back, no, we're gonna make sure that you guys are here in the chat. So if you do hear your name come up as a winner, be sure to say hi or I'm here or something in the chat so that we can log you and make sure that you get your prize. And that way, if somebody isn't in the chat, we'll be able to redraw for the people who are in the chat. So, gentlemen, we'll do another 1 or 2 questions. So anybody in the chat, if you guys have any last minute questions for our guests, please drop them right now. We have a question from One Day Zay May asking, does nicotine salt added to 0 milligram have to steep for a certain time, or do you just add it, shake it, and it's good to go?
So, like any other blend of nicotine, there's a preference to steeping. Some people will say it can go right away. Some people will say it takes a couple hours. Some people say leave it in a hot car. Some people say it needs to take weeks. Anyone that's asking that question, I'm sure, is familiar with DIY and in that particular field. To speak to the DIY crowd, again, it's a preference. Nicotine salts in general shouldn't behave any different than standard nicotine when it comes to adding and steeping process. But you'll find that you'll certainly find that with a few hours, any juice, unadulterated, again, just so by itself in the full concentrate at that point, will probably taste better. And additionally, I encourage anybody that adds something like that to shake it a lot, let it sit, look at the viscosity, you can kind of see the waves of the webbiness inside, and then shake it again and let it sit, just for the fact that you don't want to drip too much or fill your pot with more nicotine than you're looking for.
Awesome. So One Day Zay May, I hope that answered your question. And you guys, I have a question for you, something that I wanted to ask a little while ago, but just to bring it back because I actually was not aware of this. So you were mentioning kind of the legalities and the restrictions on things as far as like child-proof caps and stuff like that. I had no idea that that was consumer driven. I always thought that that was like an industry thing. I hopped into the industry pretty recently, maybe like a year ago, and everything was already so solidified, if you will, that I just figured that that was more of a legal thing because of the regulations. But you're saying that it's a lot of the regulations that we have surrounding the bottles or the way that things are distributed are consumer requested.
Yeah, there's places like New York City and in New York State that require child-proof caps. There's places like California that require Prop 65 writing. Soon to be, I'm sure we all, anyone in the industry knows that we're going to start being required to have 30% of our label. We're saying it's a product that contains nicotine. Again, we're all kind of in tune to what's happening, but what happened over the trend was, certain people demanded glass bottles, so glass bottles became the regular. Certain people demanded child-proof stuff, so they became the regular. Shrink wrapping, right? I mean, many people know that you can take a cap off without even breaking the shrink wrap, so it was kind of just a thing that made it look nice. And then quality of labs. I would say on a personal level, I was a little disappointed in the FDA's coming down its regulations, because it seemed a lot more about how there was no real knowledge or language as to what quality standards they were going to be looking for. They did speak to some stewardship and to some, what the PMTA kind of would remotely look like. There's still a lot of ambiguity, but in general, the one thing I was disappointed was I really had hoped that the government would care more about the quality of the product and where it was made and how it was packaged and what it was going to be branded, what needed to be said on it and what the consumer, I think in that essence, and I know this is not a final thing, we still have some more years to find out what that ambiguous world is, but I hope to find the government look a little bit more towards what the consumer is going to be actually consuming and request the according standards that, I'll put it this way, the vape industry seems to demand more than even the government is demanding, which I think is a short-sighted view of, or a disproportionate view, if you will.
But I think it means that people care enough that they are taking it seriously, if you will, and they are trying to, do what they can.
In the United States, since day one, it's freedom versus government, right? So at the end of the day, I think the story of vaping and how the vape community came about, how it is now, is a great story of capitalism at its finest. I mean, it's people coming in as entrepreneurship, starting with little bits and pushing and pushing and pushing and demanding and finding a consumer base that never existed before. And that consumer base finding its way, whether it be through Instagram, through email, through direct message, through trade shows, having a direct conversation with that and saying, here's what I expect from my product, and I won't buy it otherwise. And the only reason people in the industry would change is if their product wasn't being purchased. They needed to do that, you know. And I think it's a great triumph of capitalism. Now we're finding government come in, which to some extent, of course, is necessary. And as long as and I'll be a supporter of it as long as they add in the pieces that require the best product to come out the other way.
Gotcha. Thank you so much again for these amazingly insightful answers, you guys. This is educating me just as much as it's educating people in the chat. So I really do appreciate it. So I'm going to take this last question from Patrick in the chat, and then we're going to go ahead and draw those giveaway winners. So Patrick wants to know, do they find a Nick Salt shots affect the flavor like the more readily seen regular Nick shots tend to do?
Yes, of course. So any flavor that's currently already packaged with its nicotine strength is blended to the purpose of that nicotine strength. So a formula is going to be adjusted for a 50 versus a 30, just as it always has been for a 0, a 3, a 6. So many people believe, I know a lot of vape stores in the middle of America, and I understand it's easier to order a bunch of zeros, but it's kind of important to order the specific nicotine strength because that's the way the flavor was meant by the manufacturer and thus delivered to the customer. So when you have a 0 and you're adding a nicotine shot to it, unless that's concentrated, it specifically says this is for this purpose, which is very unlikely. Most times it's just zeros, then you're going to affect the flavor. The question that this person's asking, though, I can't guarantee, but just because nicotine salts is smoother and affects the flavor less overall in general, nicotine salt shots should affect it less than standard nicotine.
Awesome. So, Patrick, I hope that answered your question. Thank you guys again so much. Everyone is saying thank you for the info. And thank you guys again for such an amazing giveaway that we are about to draw a winner for. So, I will go ahead before I draw those winners and reiterate what you guys are going to receive. And it will be listed on the screen, numbers 1 through 3. So, you'll know who's winner number 1, who's winner number 2, and who's winner number 3. So, let me reiterate for you guys. Winner number 1 will be receiving the Solace lineup, a Salty Man lineup, 3 building mats, and a hat or a t-shirt. Winner number 2 will receive the SVLT lineup, part of the Salty Man lineup, and the Boulder Rock mouth-to-lung device. And winner number 3 will receive the full lineup of I Heart Salts and the Boulder Rock, again, which is the mouth-to-lung device. So I'm going to go ahead and pull those names, you guys, and you'll see the numbers next to you. So can you gentlemen, please give me a drum roll for this giveaway? Woo! And we've got 28 entries, 3 winners coming. And if you guys are in the chat, please say I'm here, because if someone entered and they're not here anymore, we're going to redraw those names. But for now, I'm going to go ahead and announce these winners. And it's taking forever to load. Yes. All right, you guys, here are the winners. Texas Vapor Babe, Selena S, and Isaiah S. You guys are our winners. Woo! Congratulations. So Texas Vapor Babe, you're going to get prize number 1. Selena S, you're going to get prize number 2. And Isaiah S, you are going to get prize number 3. So if the 3 of you guys could let us know in the chat right now that you are still here and still active, because if not, I'm going to have to redraw one of these people. So please let us know that you guys are here. So Texas Vapor Babe is here. Awesome. Okay. One Day's AMA is here. So Selena S with a C, are you here? Check in. Selena S. I'm going to give it a minute. So you guys, for those of you who did win, you can look at the table and see all of the goodies that you're going to get. I'm waiting on Selena S to confirm that she's here. And if she's not here, I'm going to redraw winner number 2. So, okay, Selena's here. Woo! Okay, you guys, awesome. So, all 3 of you winners, please email me after tonight's show at ejuicescom@gmail.com. Send me your address, your nick levels, and for winner number 1, Texas Vapor Babe, tell me if you want a hat or a t-shirt and what size, and I will go ahead and forward it over to these gentlemen so we can get you guys your prizes ASAP. So, thank you guys for participating, and thank you guys, Brendan, Jomi, Jameson, and Dan, for giving us these amazing, amazing giveaway items. So, usually after the giveaway, we do just kind of like a wind down and a wrap up. So do you guys have any closing thoughts that you want to tell our audience about you, your brand, Nick Salts, the industry, anything in general that you'd like everyone to know before we close out for tonight?
You said it well. Trust the diamond. I think that's what's most important throughout all this. The reason we all work together, the reason we're all here, the reason we respect each other across everything is the ethics, the standards of business, and in general, we all have something to learn from each other. But one thing we all represent is that Salts diamond. So you find that on a product, it's going to be something you like, and you can go across the board. Other than that, there's the particular type of advertising, the particular type of way in which flavors people chose. So give them a shot, try them out. You have some critiques, let us know. But either way, we encourage you to know what you're vaping and to know what type of device you're using.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate it. And also be sure to check out Tinted Brew and that awesome cat blog that we talked about earlier, you guys, because I'm still...
Well, our director of sales wanted a shout out. His name is Alex Althouse. I don't know why he wants a shout out, but he deserves one. He works really hard.
All right, Alex Althouse, this shout out's for you. Thank you guys so much, and thank you to everybody who is in the live chat. We'll be back again next week, same time, 6 to 8 p.m. Pacific time. I'm Tina with eJuices.co, and above we've got Brendan, Jomi, Jameson, and Dan. Say thanks, you guys, and thank you guys for being so amazing.
Stay humble.
Have a good night, you guys.
Bye.